What we're going to talk about is the paganism that God identifies. Oh, yeah. God in the Bible identifies paganism practices that are happening in his church. And he, that's talking about that spirit, put forth the form of a hand, put forth what looked like a hand, and took me by the lock of mine head, grabbed him by his hair, and the spirit lifted him up between earth and heaven. Son of man, seest thou what they do, even the great abominations that the house of Israel committed here, that I should go far off from my sanctuary? He says, Ezekiel, do you see what they're doing? What the house of Israel are doing, these great abominations that they commit here, of all places you're going to commit this here, that I should go off far from my sanctuary? It's like, you ever been somewhere and it's like, you know what, y'all get on my nerves, I can't even stay here, I gotta go. He said, do you see what they're doing in committing this great abomination here, that I should go far off from my sanctuary? But turn thee yet again, and you shall see greater abominations. Now, what he just saw was great abominations. He just saw great abominations. Now, what he's about to see now is greater abominations. What does that mean? That means it's about to get worse. It's about to get worse. Verse 14, then he brought me to the door of the gate of the Lord's house, which was toward the north, and behold, there sat women weeping for Tammuz. Now, Tammuz represents a sun god. So these are pagan women worshiping, weeping for a sun god near God's house. But when you think about God's tabernacle, there aren't women. Paganism isn't a part of that. But God identifies this for a reason. Verse 15, then said he unto me, hast thou seen this, O son of man? Turn thee yet again, and thou shalt see greater abominations than these. Now, we went from great abominations, greater abominations, greater abominations, and greater abominations. Greater than the women, pagan women, worshiping their sun god. Verse 16, this is worse. What he's about, mercy, this just hit me. That just hit me. That just hit me. This is worse than pagans worshiping their sun god. And he brought me into the inner court of the Lord's house, and behold, at the door of the temple of the Lord, between the porch and the altar, were about 25 men, with their backs toward the temple of the Lord, and their faces toward the east, and they worshiped the sun toward the east. That's what these things mean. 3 keys of a healthy Christian life. Now, the thing is, these men were standing in this place. Now, when the Bible says that these men were standing between the porch and the altar. Well, where is the altar? If they're between the porch and the altar, and remember what God told, where God brought Ezekiel. He brought him to the inner court of the Lord's house. So that means, again, we are in the tent part, the sanctuary part. That is the inner court. What's on the outside is the outer court. And these men are standing between the porch and the altar. Where is this altar? The altar is the altar of incense. That is the only that is the only place where they could be standing, between the porch and the altar. So they're standing in this place where Christians should be standing. So this identifies them as believers. So when God identifies in Ezekiel chapter 8 these women near the gate worshiping Tammuz, it means something. What does it mean? Well, again, Tammuz is linked to the sun god. But how does that connect with the individuals that are standing in the inner court in God's sanctuary, between the porch and the altar, with their backs toward the temple of God? When you turn your back on something, what does that mean? Their backs toward the temple of God, and they're facing the east, and it says they're worshiping the sun. Is there sun practice going on? But where's the connection? So we know the women are weeping for Tammuz. Tammuz, the sun god, and when pagans worship their sun, they worship it on a certain day. And these men are standing in God's sanctuary with their back toward the temple of God, facing the east, and they also are worshiping the sun. So it's customary that if there's sun worship going on that is taking place on a certain day. Because these men that are standing between the porch and the altar, standing in the holy place, let's say this. Let's say they represent God's people, but they also represent God's churches. I'm going to say they represent God's churches. Many churches, not just 25, many churches. God's people. That's why I say that, because when we say God's people, we can say his church. God's people. These people are standing in this place that represents a healthy Christian life. But when I say these people represent churches, guess what? They have witnessing ministries, right? They have witnessing ministries. They witness to the homeless. They witness to the poor. They witness to the incarcerated. They witness or have witness ministries for the young, for the teenagers, for the young adults, for the elderly, for the singles, for the married. They've got that. They've got prayer ministries. They believe in prayer. Prayer early in the morning prayer, prayer warriors, Wednesday night prayer meeting, prayer and fasting sessions. They believe it. They got it. They also believe in Bible study. They got Bible study for the young, Bible study for teenagers, Bible studies for young adults, Bible studies for the elderly, Bible studies for the singles, Bible studies for the married, Bible studies for the homies, Bible studies for the incarcerated. They believe it. They're standing in this place. But what is the issue here? Their backs are toward the temple of God. When you turn your back on something, what does that mean? That means you're rejecting it? Now, I got a question here. What are they facing? New, right? Altar burnt offering represents the cross of Christ. The laver represents, meaning, yes, baptism, but also the belief of Christ's burial and resurrection. So these men that are in this place, in God's inner court, between the porch and the altar, they believe in witnessing. They believe in prayer ministries, witnessing ministries, prayer ministries. They believe in Bible study ministries. They're facing the east. Well, according to my illustration, they're facing the east. What do they see out in front of them? Of course, they're facing the sun, but what's in front of them if they're standing between the porch and the altar? So when they back toward the temple, that means they can see out beyond the porch. What do they see in the outer court? What's in their vision? The laver first, right? What does that represent? Christ's burial and resurrection. So they believe and they see that burial and resurrection. They teach Christ's burial and resurrection. Easter Sunday, they teach it. They believe it. Christ died and was buried. They believe it. What do they see beyond the laver? They see the altar or burnt offering. That represents the cross of Christ. They see that. They teach that. So they believe in Bible study. They believe in prayer ministries. They believe in witnessing ministries. They're standing in that place. Their back is toward the temple of God. They see the cross of Christ. They preach the cross of Christ. They preach the importance of his blood, the power of the blood. It will never lose its power. They believe that. They believe in baptism. They believe that. They believe in his burial and resurrection. But it says they're worshiping the Son. What is the problem? What is the problem that we see in a spiritual sense regarding this? We talked about what they're doing. Let's talk about when they are doing it. Now, remember, we talked about God identifying a paganistic practice. When are these churches, are these people of God doing what they're doing that is provoking God not only to jealousy, but to anger? When are they doing it? Well, looking at Ezekiel chapter 8, it kind of tells us when they are doing it. They're doing it on the same day that the women are worshiping Tammuz, the son of the sun god. Thus, God identifies them first and then points you to the people that are doing it in his sanctuary. Are you committing this great abomination here that I should go far off from my sanctuary? When are they doing it? And when do the pagan women worship? When do pagans, period, worship their sun god? They worship their sun god on the day of the sun, which we call what? Sunday. These men's backs are toward the temple of God. Now, Jesus Christ shows John a temple in heaven. Remember, their back is toward the what? Temple of God. Revelation chapter 11, verse 19 says this, and the temple of God was open in heaven, and there was seen in his temple the ark of his testament. We saw in Revelation chapter 15, verse 5, and after that I looked, and behold, the temple of the tabernacle of the testimony in heaven was open. After that I looked, and behold, the temple of the habitation of the testimony in heaven was open. What does that word testimony mean? That word testimony means this: something evidential that is generally evidence given, or specifically the Decalogue in the sacred tabernacle. Anytime. What does the Decalogue mean? I think I looked it up already, and I did look it up already. So let me see if I can make this bigger. I went to Bing. You can go to Google and do the same thing. Type in Decalogue. It's going to tell you this: Decalogue, the 10 Commandments. Let's read that verse again. And after that I looked, and behold, the temple of the habitation of the 10 Commandments in heaven was open. A lot of people say God did away with his law at the cross. A lot of people say God changed the law. A lot of people say I'm dead to the law. We don't no longer have to keep the law. When John twice sees the 10 Commandments in the ark in heaven, the place where we all want to go, these men that are facing the east, worshiping the sun, their back is toward the temple of God. According to what we just read in Revelations 15, in Revelations 11, what is in the temple of God? Remember, if the earthly is a copy of the heavenly, behind the veil was only one article of furniture. That was the Ark of the Testament, which inside the ark is the 10 Commandments, aka the Testament, aka the testimony of God. Their back is toward that, and that's the only thing back there. They're facing the east, worshiping the sun, the same day that the pagan women are worshiping the sun. And when do the pagans worship the sun? They worship the sun on Sunday. So these men are standing in this place worshiping the sun. And what day are they worshiping the sun on? According to God. Remember, God pointed it out. What day are they doing this on? The same day as the pagan women. But what does it mean that their back is toward the temple of God when the 10 Commandments is the only thing back there? Now, when you turn your back on something, that means you reject it. Now, am I saying that these men, these churches that believe in witnessing ministries, prayer ministries, Bible study ministries, they preach the cross of Christ, they preach Christ's burial and resurrection, am I saying that they're rejecting God's 10 Commandments? Well, let's see. They believe in having no other gods before me. They believe in worship. Don't worship idols. They believe in not taking God's name in vain. They believe in honoring the parents. They believe in don't kill, don't commit adultery, don't steal, don't lie, don't covet. They believe in that. But when it comes to number 4, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. For 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. But the 7th day, which we call Saturday, is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. They don't buy into that one. They don't accept that. So when we see these men standing in this place, God identifies it. And he says, do you see the abominations that the house of Judah, the house of Israel commit here? That I should go far from my sanctuary, that they come and provoke me to anger? And not only are they standing in this place that represents a healthy Christian life, they're standing in this place holding on to superstitious practices. They believe in the witnessing ministries, the prayer ministries, the Bible study ministries. They preach the cross of Christ, and they preach Christ buried and resurrected. They believe that. They preach baptism. They believe that. But their back is toward the temple of God. So these men are standing in God's temple with their backs toward the temple. They believe in 9 of the commandments. It's just one that they reject. And it's evident in this vision, in this illustration, which one they're rejecting, because they're worshiping on the same day that the pagans are worshiping the sun, which is Sunday. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Why are they destroyed for lack of knowledge? Because they have rejected knowledge. Well, what knowledge are they rejected? Seeing you have forgotten the law of thy God. Well, I didn't forget God's law. I honor my parents. I don't kill. I don't steal. I don't commit adultery. I don't lie. I don't worship other gods. I don't take his name in vain. What? One thing you lack. And that one thing is causing you to forget God's law. Thus, we stand in our Christian positions today. Many of us stand in the place of these men, standing in a place where believers should stand, believing in Bible study, prayer, witnessing. We preach the burial and resurrection of Christ. We preach his sacrifice. But when are we doing it? According to this vision, on the same day that the pagans worship.